his hand doesn't actually line up. Something like that. I might move it up just a tad, and then the hand down just a tad. Sort of rotate it a bit. Okay, let's see. Alright, we can actually see that what looked good at the end, well, looks pretty good at the end. Let me just do another tweak. And if you were really picky, you could go in and actually reposition each finger. I won't be doing that. So yes, what I was saying is this looks good, but if we go to the start, it looks quite a bit too high. And I suspect that either the match move is wrong, or Isaac has subtly moved his arms, and I can't expect him to stand completely still. He did a very good job, but it appears that he's moved a tiny little bit. So what I'll do is just animate the position of the arm. So it currently looks good here, so I'll grab the left arm. Actually, the left arm looks fine here. It's mainly just the hand. Well, actually, I'll keyframe all of them just in case. Anyway, what you do is keyframe the rotation where it looks good, keyframe the forearm, and keyframe the hand. And then if we go to the very start and make sure the auto key is turned on, which it is, this button here, we can now manipulate this to what looks good. So put this down a little and have the hand sort of a bit more angled. Maybe the forearm comes down a little and the hand comes up a bit. Something like that. So it looks good in both start and end positions. It's not perfect, we can see, but it's pretty much good enough. Close enough is good enough. So let's work on this next arm here. Back to the perspective view to work on that. And I suspect we'll have to scale it down again. I think the point that I tracked there was actually on the very tip of, oh no, I think it's on the thumb. So this arm scale looks much more reasonable. I might scale it down a tiny little bit on the right arm. Yep, and I'll try and see what happens if I line this up to where it should be. Again, I think the elbow is going to do an impossible move. Yep. So I'll sort of back off on that. And let's see what we got going on. Looks way too low, so let's push this up. Put the forearm down, and again, this one's got a wrong inverted axes or something going on there. And let me undo that, sort of have it pushed down and rotated. And I sort of want the forearm to be pointing a bit further down and have the right arm up a little bit. And I'll scale that down just a little bit more. Yep. So that's looking pretty good. Now we can see that these aren't lining up. That could be to do with the rotation they are, or where they are in Z-space. So I'll actually just keyframe these as I did the other arm. Right forearm rotation, key selected. The right hand, key selected, and the actual arm itself. Come to the very end, and I'm only making 2 keyframes. You may find that in other shots you might need many keyframes, but I'll just be doing 2. One at the start, one at the end. So right arm is too high, and forearm's looking good. Could actually push it back and have the hand sort of, it's difficult with the inverted axes. something like that. I'll move the forearm down. It's difficult. What you can actually do is grab the parameter that you want to change, and then just in the window, just drag the middle mouse button to get it more precise. That looks good. Alright, pretty happy with this. The skull, let's just see how that is going in the perspective. I think it's the last thing we need to modify. I'll just select it and hit F. I can see that the eyes aren't aligning with the two eye locators. So I'll just grab the skull. Do I have you? Yes, separately. And come in and sort of move them. That's looking a lot better. Let's just check in the camera view. It sort of looks like as if his skull is a bit too tall. I did move it down drastically, but I can also scale it down a little bit. Just don't want it higher than Isaac's head. And that's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Okay, so that's the position of the skeleton. That's the hard part done. Let's work on the material for the actual skeleton, and what I'll be doing is using a preset. Presets are pretty uncreative, but in this case I thought, the preset looks great, so I may as well use it. So what you do is you come into the Hypershade, and what I added was, I think, a ramp shader. And let's go to the attributes of this ramp shader here, and under presets you can actually find X-ray. So let's replace this with the X-ray material, and this is a really cool look. And on the render layers, this is our master layer, so this will have the X-ray. So go to the outliner, select your deer skeleton, and apply that to him or her if you're doing a female skeleton. Now let's do a quick render of this, and I'll be using Mental Ray. Just change it to Mental Ray, and I'll just do a quick preview. And this is what we get. It's pretty hard to tell actually because I have the background. So if you just click this button here, the camera attributes, and go to the actual camera, we can, just over here, the image plane, we can turn the alpha gain to 0 and then re-render that. This is what we get. It's sort of a cool looking X-ray effect, and if we go to the alpha channel, we can see the different bones are sort of stacking on each other and adding alpha values to the scene. It also has a slight glow, which is why it looks so dreamy. And a few issues to address are, now the first one is this bit here. It looks a bit weird on the pelvis, and that's actually a problem with the model itself. If we go into the perspective view, I'm not sure if we'll be able to see, but sort of got this weird thing going on. I think it was an OBJ, and it hasn't really translated that well into Maya. So I'm not going to be doing anything to fix that. I'm just going to live with it. But something we can fix is sort of, if we have a look at this again, sort of we can see the we pretty much broke this guy's neck by moving his skull down, and now his skull is like inside his spine. His spine is inside his skull, and that's why it's sort of causing all this doubling up here, which looks quite bad. So we can go in and individually delete these pieces. Again, anatomically incorrect, but it's going to look better. So I'll delete all the ones that are sort of in the way. This one is sort of all together. You could go mesh, separate, and sort of delete them one by one, which is what I'll do. I'll just hide the skull for a sec, delete this piece and this piece, and I'll go to the outliner and unhide his skull. So yeah, as I was saying, anatomically incorrect because his skull is hovering, but I think it's going to look better. So if we go into the render view and save this frame, I'll just re-render. this is what we get, and I much prefer this one. Okay, so we got off pretty easy using a preset for the actual look of the character, the skeleton. So let's do a cool transition. And I won't really be working on this layer anymore. This is the master layer, but I will copy this layer. And on this layer, this will be the matte. And for the transition, I want to show his head first and then sort of reveal the rest of his body. And a way we can do that easily is to just create a giant cube to reveal him. And so let's just create one. We can see we're sort of in the wrong orientation. I'll go to the top view to sort of align this. Okay, and if we go back to the camera view, let's just sort of get a look at what's going to be going on here. We're going to keyframe the position so it sort of starts here and reveals his body. Now, I think if we had this square and it was too big, just to prove a point here, if you have the square too big, you'll actually you may, in some instances, depending on the angle of the camera, get a worse transition, because this will be so close to the camera that you might be missing out on bits that you want to see. I haven't really explained that well, but trust me. So just make this cube as big as you need it. So for me, well, for most of you, it'll be a rectangle. So let's sort of rotate it a bit and get it to just the size we need. Something like that. And it'll probably need to be a little bit taller. Make it as tall as you want. Something like that to cover our bases, and it's going to start here, and maybe frame 95 or something, it'll be at the bottom. So I think we're keyframing the translate Y, so I'll go to the very start, key that, and I'll just go to the graph editor, bring this in here. Actually, I should probably set my second keyframe. I'll try it around frame 100, because I sort of want a lengthy transition. I don't want it to be over in a second. And move this all the way down. I'm just looking at the bottom, this one here, and that's pretty good. It's revealed all of him. And you can see it's a little bit laggy to preview because we have this semi-transparent material, but if we scrub through, we can see it's revealing our character. So let's go to the graph editor, and if we select the layer, we can sort of get a bit more control as to the animation here. If we just hit all these three keys, it'll sort of line it up for us. So this is the animation here, and let's just take a look again. It's a bit laggy. That looks pretty cool. What you could do in the graph editor is sort of maybe add some ease. I think I may have accidentally added a keyframe there. I can just delete that. You can sort of add some interesting beziers to your animation to sort of break it up so it starts off very slow and goes in very quickly. I don't think I'll do that. I might have that one. I might have it do that for the end, so it sort of starts off normal speed and sort of slows down and speeds up a bit. So pretty much the only way I'm going to be able to see that in real time is to do a play blast. So I'll just go into my camera view and window play blast and see what that looks like. So here it is. I'm not too happy about the movement at the end, the speed of it, but so I'll go into the graph editor, select the rectangle. I'll just do a simple straight line. Oops. Straight line. That's interesting, but yeah, straight line for me.